Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about something a bit controversial, a bit personal, you'll tell me. So when I came to the humbling realization that I am not the victim, I as well can be the bad guy in some situations, was a very humbling experience for me. That I could be considered toxic, the toxic one. Maybe I got some red flags that I need to look for myself and be aware of and talk about them with my therapist. It was kind of interesting because I was in a situation where something was happening and I was the so-called person that was being treated bad in that situation. And I think back and I contemplated and looked back at other times in my life where I've had maybe similar situations, that in that situation I might have been the one who was at fault versus the other time, because it was almost like the roles were switched. And I'm not condoning or justifying bad behavior. Bad behavior is bad behavior and shouldn't be tolerated. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying your reaction to certain things or your perspective on certain things in situations with people isn't as squeaky clean as you think it is. And I think it's really humbling and courageous to even look at yourself like that in a different light, because let's say not many people actually would want to be conscious of their flaws and maybe look back and say hey, in that time at that place, that was on me, my fault, I'm sorry about that. Have a little conversation about that with the other person. And I think that with that, you can build more accountability and more trust with the other person and with yourself. Call it destiny, call it karma, but I do believe that we are meant to learn lessons in our lives and be in situations that make us learn that lesson until we've learned it. So then we can move on to a different lesson, let's say. Being the spiritually adolescent that I am, I do truly believe that one should act how they want to be treated. And if they, let's say in a situation, don't act in a way that they want to be treated and they're surprised that karma catches up to them, gets back to them, it makes sense. If you believe in yin and yang, good and bad, in the good there's bad, in the bad there's good, everything needs to be balanced. So if you, let's say, are a shitty person to your friend or in a relationship or your schoolmates or your coworkers or whatever, that will come back to you. So no one's perfect, everyone has their own problems, everyone has their own difficulties that they get through, everyone has their own experiences that have led them to be in this moment right now. When we don't act as entitled as we think we should be entitled to, I think that things get a lot simpler and we can understand and appreciate where the other person is coming from, because maybe we have been in that person's shoes as well. We can have sympathy and empathy for them and have some sympathy and empathy for yourself that, shit happens, things happen, but as long as you're aware of those things and you're progressing towards a better version of you, then that's what matters. And I'm not saying that to justify any bad behavior. Like I said before, shitty behavior is shitty behavior, and one should try to live their life as best to the ability that they can, in the sense that follow the golden rule, which is the most important rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. It's also interesting because sometimes we're not aware of it, and most cases we're not aware of it, that maybe we're the shitty person treating someone in a shitty way, or just acting not right in that moment. And maybe even subconsciously, because we and everyone has been treated bad by someone else, that's life, we subconsciously might even understand how it feels to be treated in a certain way. Therefore, to protect ourselves and protect our hearts, protect our feelings, protect our egos, will subconsciously treat other people a more sketch kind of bad way, or you bring some of your complexes onto the other person. And because we're hurt, we don't want to hurt again, so we build up a defense And whether we even realize it or not, we might even be acting in not a nice way just so that we can feel maybe that we're like in control of the situation or that we have the upper hand. There's also that, like, people might act in a certain way because of past experiences that they've experienced, and they maybe never want to feel that way again. So in any other experience that they have, they will have certain ways of dealing with things, maybe in like toxic ways, or they'll kind of like belittle you verbally or act out in ways that you deem yourself is not right. But once we understand that it's like a linear thing and we're not perfect in all situations in life, we have our difficulties, everyone has their difficulties, everyone has their problems. However, if someone is just a shitty person and isn't aware of like the damage they're causing and doesn't want to be aware of the damage that they're causing because they're choosing a way of life to live, then like that's on them. Like that's their own issue, it's not your issue. They got their own red flags, their own toxicity traits that they hopefully through therapy or healthy coping mechanisms can maybe one day like see that, be aware of that, and like change that type of behavior to become a better person and a better human being and a better person in society. When that happens, then you know, maybe you can have another conversation with them. There are those people that do try to be as aware of themselves as possible, and I think that the pursuit in doing that is very important, and it shows that they care, but genuinely. Like if they're just saying something situation or kind of brush it off, or they're blaming something else. Like if someone is a shitty friend and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I've just been so busy with work, I've been so stressed with work, like okay, like you know, sometimes that might be the case, but if that's their excuse for every time that they're going to maybe be negative around you or say negative things to you or not be like a good person to you in that moment, I think in those times, voicing how you feel is really important. And I do think like a healthy conversation should be had at that point, just to kind of communicate on both sides, like what's going on, where you guys both at. Hopefully after that conversation is had, you guys can be in a better place. And if not, it might take some time, but if there is that willingness to trust and try to be a better person or understand where the other person is coming from, I think it's worth your time and energy. Even let's say if you're not able to speak with the person that you feel that you have done wrong, I think that just the fact that you're aware of it and in future you can have that corrected behavior is great and is a very mature way of going about things. I know personally it took me a while to understand that it's not just me that are getting things done to me. Everything is like a balancing act. Like I do something, another person does something. It's all just a balancing act. And I think that it makes us very humane to have that recognition and own up to your faults, because if you realize something negative about yourself and you want to change that about yourself, the first step is realization. And once you realize that, you can make steps in order to become a better version of yourself. It might have been you in that situation that fucked up, basically. It's not like obviously a nice thing to realize about yourself, but I think that in realizing your faults and your flaws and times where you've maybe done wrong ultimately can guide you into becoming a better person and a more aware person and an overall better human being. And as long as that is the goal in mind, the pursuit that you have for yourself and for the loved ones close to and around you, then I think that's what's most important. Obviously, just to note as well, not every situation you'll be able to save. That relationship might just be long gone just because of circumstances. And just like live and you learn. Take a deep breath, meditate about it, go to therapy, journal about your feelings. You probably got some like compressed, suppressed emotions going on. Understand yourself, understand where you've come from, understand your goals that you have for yourself, the types of connections you want to have with people. And if you really do want to be a toxic, shitty person because you think that that is the better way, by all means go ahead. You do you. The people that will put up with you will put up with you. The people that won't put up with you won't put up with you. So that's that, period. And if you're on the other side of having someone be a bit toxic to you and that person will never change, probably just take a deep breath, do a little meditation, close your eyes, go for a walk, and assess how you want to have that person in your life. And I've realized, because I'm a lot more at peace with certain connections, friendships, relationships that no longer exist in my life, I can understand more the ending to some of them. And for the other ones, I just kind of let go of maybe idea that I had for that person or what that person could be, and move on with my life. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, make sure you like this video, and leave a comment if you want to. Thanks, bye.